The #1 player in the world is taking on the #2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-7 series from the PiG Sty tournament, where in the upper left, playing in red with the Zerg, we have the world champion of StarCraft. We have Serral, his opponent and main nemesis these days. Playing with the blue Terran pieces, joined by the polar bear, we have none other than Clem. Now these two, they played a phenomenal series over at Home Story Cup, just, well, a little while ago, earlier this year. Spoiler alert, I suppose, for my own cast, in case you haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna spoil it. You ready? It was Clem, absolutely destroying Serral. It's honestly the first time that I have recently seen Serral play where he looked kind of helpless. He just didn't have an answer at all to what Clem was throwing his way. Now, luckily for us, just a few weeks after Home Story Cup, they met once again, this time around for the PiG Sty event, in a best-of-7. At the time, for Home Story Cup, it was a best-of-5. And now, of course, we have a few more games here of potential at the very least. So I'm excited for it. I hope you got yourself a drink, because this certainly has, well, everything we need for a very long match. A best-of-7 between two macro players. I mean, obviously, Clem is pretty aggressive, right? He likes being aggressive, but he certainly is capable of playing the macro game, and that is how he seems to be beating Serral most of the time these days. Serral is very cheese-proof, so these two, they can play 30-minute banger after banger. I don't really know, but I've got myself a large cup of coffee. I've got myself like 2 liters of water. Let me actually finish my coffee. I actually slept pretty well as well last night, which is nice. Turns out sleeping with a newborn is a little bit tricky. Anyways, we've got ourselves a double barracks opener right here for Clem, who's going to be following this up with a command center eventually. This is something, though, that Serral's going to scout. He will now see, okay, this is indeed a double rec start for the Terran player, and he's going to be able to get some of his own production going. He's already hiding a drone over at the 3rd base. Serral, unlike a lot of the other top-level Zergs, is a big fan of just not pulling out of gas until he has 100. A lot of the other top-level Zergs like to pull out a little bit earlier. Serral only pulls out at the last possible moment. Anyways, he is now going to get that link speed out a little bit sooner. And because of it, this Reaper build should be relatively holdable. The drone, though, is far away. Look at him, hiding in the grass. Way in the bottom left. That is just to be able to sneak out the expansion, even when the Reapers are going to town. You want to kind of delay this, because with 3 Reapers, it's kind of killable. If Terran sees that you're going for a quick 3rd, they can add like a 4th or even like a 5th Reaper in the mix. Right now, it's already too late for that, so Serral decides to plant it down. But with 5 Reapers, you can pretty much guarantee the kill on a 3rd. Clem is dancing. Now he's got enough Reapers as well to really start hurting that mineral line, but he knows he's on a timer. He will know that in about 10 seconds, link speed is done, so he needs to get out of here. Gets a drone, though, on his way home. Serral making a couple more links. The grenades are nice. Dodging as well there with that 1 worker. All right. Do we stick around here a little bit longer? Well, he does get an additional worker for his troubles. Reapers will be able to escape for now. He gets the scout as well on the 3rd. Lynx will just barely not kill that 1 Reaper. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, Clem is an absolute mastermind when it comes to just early game unit control, mid game unit control, and late game unit control. It's what makes him such a scary player, right? Like, historically, if we look at the most successful StarCraft 2 players in the world, especially for Terran, they've either been extremely good at macro, like, say, for example, Innovation, or really good at micro. Back in the day, I'm thinking of names like, for example, Marine King, if you recall any of those days. It's been a long time. Clem, though, is really the perfect package when it comes to Terran, and that is what is making it also difficult for Serral. Serral usually likes to overpower players by macro, he likes to overpower players with just sheer amount of multitasking, but Clem is perfectly capable of matching all of that, and he seems to be able to outpace Serral. So Serral's main strength is just the sheer strength of, or the sheer rigidity, I suppose, of the way that he plays Zerg. But Clem manages to pretty much always catch him off guard in some way, and then he can really keep up that momentum. Now we already have a little bit of multitasking again. It's only a handful of units, but you can already see the bullying that's starting to take place. Serral's being punched in the mouth over and over and over again, and this is honestly not a terrible position for him, but I also don't love it. I guess the main advantage for Zerg is that you see the Terran throwing away 2 of those Hellions. And when you see them throwing away Hellions, it really does slow down the follow-up aggression. You pretty much have to go up to 8 Hellions in total now here as Clem, so it means that we are not going to see a very quick switch over to additional production. Obviously, you can just make additional Hellions here, but it will slow down, say, for example, a Widowmine switch or a Siege Tank transition, so I don't think Serral's too upset about it. But already, it is Clem in the driver's seat of this game, and it's Serral who is very much so forced to defend whatever this Terran is throwing at him. Lair coming up right now. Double Evolution Chamber as well. Are we going to go melee and armor? I would imagine that should be indeed what we build up. Carapace, there it is. Makes a lot of sense. In the meantime, though, even though we have very different races here playing against one another, Clem going for pretty much identical upgrade timings here, which is always cute to see. Even though they are playing very different styles, very different races, the upgrades are still pretty much identical. Now we have the Queens, though, distracted here by one of the libs, but this is an overextension here by Clem. He swooped in, hoped for the best. Did not quite take what he wanted. Yeah, and suddenly this is not so bad anymore here for the Zerg player from Finland. And I guess that is a little caveat here with the style that Clem likes to go for. Clem really is. He's like an avalanche, you know? Like, usually when he gets ahead, he pulls ahead further and further and further. The multitasking scales up, and his attacks just become absolutely relentless. But if somehow, some way, he's slowed down, either in the early game, the mid game, or the late game, it doesn't really matter. But he kind of takes that. If you manage to like take that wind out of his sails, Clem looks a lot more mortal. That's, I guess, why we have been seeing a lot of quick infestation pits. Oh, I thought it was going to be for infestors. Well, it will be infestors, but also a very fast hive. This is about 6 minutes and 45 seconds on the hive start timing. Serral, by the way, already on pretty much 4-base saturation, just to maybe put a little bit of contrast to your own games. A free 7-minute hive with 4 bases, even though he's been defending against aggression the entire time. Clem right now, though, swoops up towards the high ground, and he wants to try and slow down that economy. Already, we have some links setting themselves up for a surround. Is Serral gonna pull the trigger? He sure is. Keep in mind, though, that he does not... Oh, the Siege Tank's gonna deal friendly. Okay, he picks up just before the Siege Tank fires. Keep in mind, though, that Serral does not have any form of Baneling here, so his splash damage is not going to be available until right now. This would be a perfect timing for a fungal growth. Sadly here for the finisher. Yep, the units were already inside of the medevac. Nice dodge right there on the second bile. Clem manages to save that full medevac, and he's going to be able to sneak away. But, like I said, right, this is certainly now him forced to slow down. We've got ourselves the hive finishing up. If Serral gets Ultralisks out, which is pretty much guaranteed where he's headed right now, if he gets Ultras out, Clem needs to make a transition. You generally cannot play against Ultras with pure Marine Marauder tank. It's just not really something you can usually focus on. Now, if your micro is real good, it might be a possibility. There's the Ultra Cavern, there's the Adrenal Glands. Both of those are really powerful. Well, I guess this is the late game that Serral's already entering, but it really doesn't quite feel like it. They're really powerful tools, but still, there are no Banelings available. And without Banes, these attacks, even though Clem just, well, got shot down with the first push, I love the Hellbats over here, these attacks are still terrifying. Normally, there will be roly-poly Banes available with some splash damage. Man, the 2 Fire Bats over here, I mean, they're basically Fire Bats now, putting in so much work. This over here is not going to work. No Council on the 5th Hatch. Serral's going to try and rebuild it. He wants to go for a similar surround as he did up north just about a minute or two ago. But he needs to be so freaking careful. Now the mailing nest is coming. Ultras are going to be getting their chitinous plating research. New hatchery in the far bottom left. Clem is going to now secure a 4th. Already the tempo is very high. I love the little wall off over here too. It is just giving Clem precious seconds to continue microing. Widowmine, ooh, does fire indeed. Fire Bats now also dragged out a little bit further. That means that the hatchery in the middle does get cancelled this time around, and that maybe the Lynx can get some damage in, but no. Reinforcing Terran troops are already moving from the natural, well, into that 3rd base location. Planetary Fortress fires up over at the bottom of the map. Serral now also sneaks out another hatchery. Ultras are coming. He's getting additional Overlords. Serral is preparing for a very big power spike. Chitinous plating, though, and +2 not yet finished. This is not quite the perfect time to engage right here for the Zerg. He should probably just give up on that base, man. Yeah, just cancel the hatchery and then push. Oh, the upgrade's finishing up. Well, I guess he is going to be able to get some really nice fungals over here. Siege tanks end up going down too. Still, these ultras do not yet have chitinous. It is going to be enough troops, though. The Zerg swarm is relentless, but that's certainly, even though it was a pretty good fight for the Zerg player here, that was certainly expensive. If you look at the total amount of resources lost, yeah, this doesn't really look that great here for Serral whatsoever. Army is going to be reduced here for a while for Clem, who is, interestingly enough, not making the switch to Ghosts, but instead he's opting to go for Liberators. 5th Command Center fired up for him as well. Planetary now done. We have a triple medevac drop headed towards the main base. Spore Crawler, though, has been repositioned there from the early game. What about the fight over here in the middle? Yep, Clem has to pick up and get on out of here. He's going to continue the harassment for a little bit longer. Yeah, and this positioning here with these units is so annoying for Serral. But he is going to clean most of it up. Another nice fungal. Base in the bottom left right now has been spotted. Clem sees a bunch of drones over at the gold. Rallying reinforcements in this direction. Liberators now joining the skies here too. There is no anti-air. So those Liberators are basically just, able to do whatever they like. But obviously the Ultras can just try to run through it all. Marauders are actually putting in a significant amount of damage. One big oversight right here for Clem is the fact that he did not yet fire up 3-3. The fact that he is stuck on 2-2 may very well cost him in the long run, but it may be intentional. Maybe he's purposefully delaying it to try and secure the kill on the bottom left base. Wow. Serral actually decides to just straight up tap out. That is too early of a GG for my liking. This is apparently a few seconds before he's wait, what? Really? This is a few seconds before he decides to leave. Like, this game hasn't been going amazingly well for Serral, but this almost feels like a rage quit. I guess he's taken a bunch of damage up north. This medevac drop is hurting. He sees the army marching towards the bottom left, so he knows that the base over there is going to die as well, but this certainly does feel like him ripping off the Band-Aid a little bit too early for my liking. But then again, he has played against Clem many times before, and he knows when Clem starts winning, he usually doesn't stop. GG. Okay. And just like that, we find ourselves on Tourmaline. Now, don't get me wrong, that was certainly an advantage for Clem. But usually, Serral is a bit more of a fighter. You know, he kind of threw in the towel a little earlier than we are used to. I don't think it's entirely unrealistic. Clem was ahead when it comes to the when it comes to the army count. The upgrades, though, obviously, they were still in Serral's favor. He didn't know. He probably assumed that 3-3 was started up as well for Clem. Nah. I don't think it was as dramatic there. I guess you kind of enter the territory, though. Maybe from Serral's point of view, you kind of enter the territory where you need to hit a lucky fungal growth for the game to once more flip your way. And it seems that, well, Zerg players no longer are feeling confident that they can really pull off any micro trick against Clem. As a matter of fact, you know those builds that we've been seeing a lot lately, where Zerg players are just skipping out banelings until the late game? They do that specifically against Clem. They feel like they can get away with banelings against the likes of Björn. They regularly do it against Maru. They do it against Cure all the time. But then, when they go up against Clem, they feel like the baneling just gets, well, out-microed, out-controlled, and it's just not worth it. So those original, like those initial fungals that show up when the infestor first spawns, that's really when Zergs feel like they have a chance. Serral got that fungal off on the double medevac drop in the main base on the previous map. But then obviously Clem microed against that chain fungal and actually split off the units. Honestly, really lovely control again for Clem, but that wasn't even really that dominant, right? Like, and I'm a little bit worried right there for Serral, because that particular game, I don't think it was that bad for Zerg, and I don't think Clem played it out as cleanly as we have seen him do it before. If Clem can tighten things up just a bit, what in the world is Serral going to pull off? Like, how in the world is he going to be able to do anything? It's going to be a Reaper opener yet again. Command center on the low ground, factory inside of the main base. We'll see a reactor here in a moment to start pumping out those Hellions 2 at a time. Serral not yet hiding a drone over at the third base this time around, which is a bit curious. He pulled one drone out of gas. He's going to be able to arrive at 100 here pretty quickly. But he did not quite leave all 3 of them. Single Zergling kill, fair enough. Where are we going to be spending our gas, Serral? Oh, Serral's got something spicy in mind. This is weird. He's not going link speed, and he's going up to 4 queens immediately. That also means he's not going into a lair. He has the resources to go into Zergling speed. He's had it for a while, but he's purposely choosing not to go for it. So... some sort of roach push? Some sort of lair after the 3rd and the 4th queen are out? I'm not sure. We are up to 180 gas. Okay, now we go into a lair. This is basically the fastest possible lair, whilst also going for 4 queens. Would it not be better, though, to just get that lair a little bit sooner and then make the 4th queen out of the hatchery that isn't turning into a lair? This is a little bit weird. This is Serral throwing a curveball. Now, Clem will already have alarm bells going off because he has seen that something fishy is happening. Oh, I feel like he should commit, though. I would not have minded it if the Reaper decided to YOLO in. Okay. Clem doesn't know, but really, what are the options available right now for Zerg, right? Is it a super quick lair? It can be Mutas. It can technically be like a Nydus. It could be like a quick Overlord drop. Either way, you have to be reasonably defensive, and I really like the idea of going Banshees. I think Banshees are pretty much always the right call in setups like this. I wouldn't even mind the cloaking upgrade, but apparently Clem does not feel like he needs it. Hellions looking for a good opportunity. He's now also seen that the Lynx still do not have their wings. Lair is done, though. What are we going to do with it? Hydra, then? That was not one of the options that I assumed. That is not a Nydus Worm. That is not a Spire. This is a Hydralisk Zen. Okay. I mean, I consider Hydralisks probably, I mean, not quite bottom tier. They're not like Swarm Host level, but they're very much so a supplemental unit, you know? Like, they shine when Zerglings have really good upgrades, and they can kind of just sit in the back and shoot spines. As a core unit? +1 carapace? Ranged for the Hydras. Okay. Banshee now swoops in. Clem, by the way, just opting to go for a triple command center build, so he's not really changing too many things up. He knows that this is very likely not that big of a deal. Gets a kill on a queen inside of the main base too. A little bit surprising Serral did not pull that back. Extra gas is now coming up, and I'm expecting, yep, the 3rd base to fly on over towards that mineral line soon. Right about right now is indeed the right call. What are the Hydras going to do? Yeah, Clem decides to scan it, and I feel like this is when you start smiling as a Terran player. You're already making siege tanks. You've got Stimpek about to finish up. You see your opponent is massing Hydras. There are some crazy Hydralisk timing attacks. I haven't really seen them work in a, well, very long time. I wonder if Serral has figured something out. Because this has given Clem a lot of time to scout it. Clem knows exactly what is happening. You know, when they first announced the latest balance patch in StarCraft 2, they wanted to put Microbial Shroud on the Infestor without a research. I still would really like to see it, because that would mean that Hydralisk timing attacks are like back on the menu again. We haven't really seen Hydra timing attacks in like a decade. I think Hydra Microbial Shroud timing attacks would be very interesting to watch. I don't think it would be too broken. Maybe it would be broken, I don't know. Apparently Blizzard deemed it broken. Anyways, here we go. Hydras are already marching. Or, what do we call it? Slithering, I suppose. They're on slithering. Yeah. The sorting hat would most definitely slither them in. Anyways. Oh god, that's disgusting. What is this? What are we doing? Is this something we're going to push into, Serral? Is that really what we're going to do? Okay. I don't know if you can hear the disgust in my voice. Maybe it's good, though. Wait a second. Has Serral just cooked up a Hydra All-in? He's flooding the map with additional Zerglings. Hold up right now. Oh, Serral has a new build. And it's brutal. Okay, that was not quite the outcome I expected. Serral just absolutely destroyed Clem's army. Now, admittedly, there were no tanks up on the high ground inside of the main base. Clem also ended up losing that Banshee reasonably early. I think there were many ways in which Clem could have actually prepared against the Hydras a little bit more, but maybe he was like me, you know? Maybe he also didn't respect the Hydra. Look, it's just that I've seen many, many games where we have seen Zergs trying to attack into lines of siege tanks, and the Hydras just get obliterated before they achieve literally anything. So, I think Clem looked at the Hydra den. He's like, yo, this is a Hydra den? Okay. Sure, buddy. Have a good time with that. He probably assumed, actually, that it wasn't a timing attack, but maybe like a very quick lurker follow-up. Like one of those, I don't want to die to any ground attack type of builds. Curious push there from Serral, but one that worked out surprisingly well. Hydras, though, and I guess that's the thing, right? They really are full glass cannons. They have really high damage output, but very low sustainability. So normally what you do as a Zerg player when you want to go Hydras is prioritize the +1 missile research. Now, +1 missile, of course, does not benefit the Zerglings at all. So Serral decided to go for +1 carapace. That would both benefit the Hydras as well as the Lings. And I do think actually the +1 carapace may have been the key in that particular fight. Wouldn't be surprised if that fight would have been done with like +1 melee or +1 missile, that it would have gone horribly wrong for Serral. +1 carapace, though, giving all of those units a little bit of additional bulk. Well, onwards we go. We're now on the Old Republic. Are we gonna go low ground? Ooh, Serral getting a little bit of a spring in his step. Look at this. We go for a Hydra All-in. We go for a forward third. Okay. I wonder if he's gonna pull off that build again later on in the series. I'm still not convinced about it. I'm gonna have to see it a few more times before I believe. But I'm still a little bit surprised with how efficient that really was. I wonder if maybe Clem just misplayed tremendously and I was so busy paying attention to Serral's strategy that I just didn't notice it. I don't know. I'd have to see it again, but there's a good chance we will indeed see it again. Not on the Old Republic, though, judging at least by the build order thus far. The lair is going to be significantly later. You know, one thing I would really like to see as well, if we're talking about Hydralisks, and again, maybe I'm a little bit biased towards Zerg, but I feel like Zerg has had like the short end of the stick in balanced notes for a long time now. I mean, mostly due to Serral winning literally everything. But one thing I would always... I've been advocating for this for a long time. Maybe one day I'll get it, okay? But I would really like to see the Hydra Den moved to hatchery tech, and then not make the Hydra Den upgrades available until lair. So you can make the Hydras earlier on in the game, but you just cannot upgrade them. It would shave about, well, a full upgrade duration, like the build time at least of the Hydra Den. It would shave that much off of Hydralisk timing attacks. It might be too much. It might be too powerful, but I think it'd be fun to experiment with. Because if you make the Hydras available at hatchery tech, I think you could nerf the Queens a little bit. And Queens are probably the most oppressive unit in the entire game. Anyhow. Clem looking for an opportunity here. Zerglings are running around. Yeah, the reason that Queens are as powerful as they are is because there's no alternative, right? Like, you have Queens or you have death. I feel like those are your options. You either make Queens or you lose the game. I think a lot of Zergs would probably be okay with Queens getting a little bit weaker if the Hydra can be built a little bit sooner. But maybe it'd be broken, I don't know. But it'd be a fun thing to experiment with at the very least. Anyhow, additional barracks coming up. Factory is now going to add on a cheeky little reactor. And the barracks are going to be pumping out Marines 5 at a time here before too long. Hellions swoop in. Yeah, they're trying their best to get a bit of value. Maybe the Banshee can actually get some real damage in, but he knows there's a Spore Crawler. Decides to just back it off after getting spotted. Flies back in. It's the indecisive Banshee. Okay. Okay. Lair's about done right now for Serral. This looks like a Spire build to me. Is it? Baneling Nest this time around. Ooh, Serral actually making a mistake. Look at that. He accidentally... Ooh, he notices. He right-clicked onto another worker rather than the mineral line. Serral human confirmed? Mouse accuracy mistakes? Huh? Interestingly enough, it's not a Spire. This is just double evolution chamber with quick glial reconstitution. So, yeah, we're just going double upgrades and that's it? A little bit weird. The timing here is not my favorite. I also feel like the positioning of that second Evo chamber is kind of just wherever. Maybe Serral has been looking at some of those old Dark games, but this is something Dark would do all the time, where he just has he has a screen somewhere and he wants to make an Evo chamber, so that's where the Evo chamber goes. Usually it's a little bit more refined on the European end of the ladder, but Infestation Pit coming up right now. Don't want to look into Evo chamber placement too hard. It really doesn't matter that much. At least it shouldn't. Clem doing quite literally the most normal strategy possible. I'm expecting a second factory. There it is. Second factory and then another command center. Very likely in the main base or over at the third. Clem just doing Clem things. A good old 5 Rex thus far. It opens the door for him to go into a fourth base. And if he really wants to, he could go into, well, 3 additional barracks as well right now. But I don't think we're really going to see that. Serral setting up a lot of units already for the surround, though. And this time around, we do have the roly-polies. Nice jump right here for Clem. Oh, here we go. Zerglings swoop around the back. The Lynx, ooh, they're gonna get the rep around. Clem too slow on the pickup. Loses pretty much everything here. That was a blunder from the Frenchman. C'est dommage. There is the Catra command center, though, so we got that going for us. And then Combat Shield was actually a little bit too late as well. Yeah, this is bad for Clem. Like, again, Clem is very momentum driven. So this really slows him down so much. Maybe cloaked, or maybe speed banes are not that bad. Who knows? Who would have thought? Speed units that deal splash damage? Ugh. Council over here on the hatchery at the 12th. More and more creep spread moving forward. Looks like the medevac drop is going to continue, but it's only 3 of the Jimmies remaining. Jim, James, and Jimothy. Yeah, they're not going to be enough. Looks like the hatchery up north, though, did get killed this time around as soon as I moved the camera. So at least Clem is still getting a little bit of value, and it's now evened up the supply count yet again. The problem is, because this has all slowed down the Terran quite a bit, he doesn't have as sharp an answer this time around to the Ultra transition. So we're not really up to the Marauder production yet. We're not really up to Liberator changes yet. We don't really have all the units here ready to go. Keep in mind that Serral now also has that Baneling speed upgrade already done. That is something that he lacked in the first game. So this is going significantly better here for the World Champ. Clem, though, the previous World Champion of StarCraft 2, he would really like to claim that title back. And it would start by taking out Serral here in the PiG Sty Cup. So let's see. Fungal. Decent Fungal. Oh, we don't mind there. Friendly fire, not good. Siege Tanks now get surrounded. Banelings are rolling past all of it. Great start to the fight right there for Serral. He's not quite out of trouble yet, though. The army will continue. It's a pretty short run from the Terran's third to this location. It's just so many Banelings here. Yep, Siege Tank positioning there, not good for Clem. Ends up losing them. Fungal, another big one, man. Luckily for him, he picked up this time around, but that was already well, almost another 20 Marines down the drain. Another infestor. A reasonable investment. There's that 4th command center down in the middle of the map. The polar bear. Antagonizing any Zerg that tries to get close. Now Ultras are going to be at least a recipe available as well for Serral. So he's going Pureling Bane Infestor for now. Ooh, nice hit right over there with that final Widow Mine. But I'm a bit afraid of what happens when the Ultralisks come out and they're going to be upgraded. Chitinous plating really is the key research for them. Clem does not really have a great answer for it yet. He's only got 1 Liberator. Ooh, you know what? Looks like... How in the world did those get in here? Sorry, I backed up like 10 seconds in the game. I was looking at the mini-map. How in the world do 2 Widow Mines magically arrive? Oh, it's just... Alright. This is the Clem delivery truck right over here. The French mail service. It goes hard. These guys, they just flew straight through the middle of the map and just deposited a bunch of Widow Mines in the mineral line. Okay, fair enough. A little bit more value over here too. The French post is very efficient. It's a little different than we have over here in the Netherlands right now, man. We have about 17 different delivery companies, and you'd imagine it creates some really, really good and strong competition, but I don't know what's going on there. Most of the time, at least where I live, it's a bit of a meme. Anyhow, this game is a bit of a meme as well for Clem, but it's not the end of the world. Those 10 drone kills are really quite nice, and he is slicing off some of these Zerg units. His economy is good enough. The creep threat for Zerg is not yet out of hand, but this is an uphill battle. Another nice fungal here, and these really are. Man, the splash damage here from the Zerg. It really is problematic here for Clem. The problem that he's mostly running into here is that he's not achieving too great of a push here with his actual attacks, and he's also not really building up too big of an economy. So, like, everything's fine, right? Like, his upgrades are good enough, his eco is good enough, his army is good enough, but he's not really ahead in any of those pillars of the game. Queen's trying her best to transfuse one another, keep this Terran army at bay. Zergling Baneling rolling around. Serral's up to 91 workers and able to produce whatever he likes. Old Republic, though, does have a lot of distance between the bases. Oh. That was a nice, efficient Widow Mine at the very least. That's the type of trade we need to see more here for the Terran. Cost efficiency-wise, it's not really been too bad. Not as great as you would like to have it as Terran, but again, certainly not the end of the world. He's slowly navigating this correctly, though. Like, he is going to finish up 3-3. Fusion core coming up. That's going to give him access to the advanced ballistics, to the Caduceus reactor research. He's going to be able to get another base up here at the bottom, I believe. This may very well trigger, though, a big move out for Serral. Serral sees it, obviously, with the links. He knows that a base is going to be imminent. And I wonder if this is going to prompt a big attack. Serral going for the budget version of Rogue strategy. We have a bunch of changelings going in. Fair enough. How many do we have? We have 8 overseers at the moment. Huh? We are going to go for the Nydus network, but not the second one. Rogue would usually make, like, I don't know, like 30, 40 or so overseers, and then 2 to 3 Nydus worms. This is a little bit more... Yeah, it's more Serral-esque, I suppose, right? A little bit less extreme. Now Ultras are starting to break through. We have some Corruptors in the mix, by the way. It's just a singular one, but it is annoying here. Fungal! Woo, that was hot! Serral sharks around the map with an Infestor and gets the perfect fungal growth. Where in the world did that even come from, man? He must have set that up a while ago already. Anticipating that move back from the Terran. When the Ultras can actually kite... When they can actually attack, they do deal a ridiculous amount of damage. Then again, Clem is still maxed out. And then again, Clem still has a healthy number of command centers. Where are we gonna go next? Ooh, I wonder if we should go to this side instead. This is... I mean, you're effectively trying to outmaneuver a Zerg player that is based around mostly Zerglings. This Terran army is not slow, don't get me wrong, but I think it might be better to play to the strength of the Terran rather than the Zerg. I feel like extra mobility is really, really good for the Zerg player especially. This planetary over here would be sweet. Anyways, Nydus Worm now coming up. Serral thinking about trying to, well, pool this Terran's defenses in multiple different angles at once. Is he looking at the minimap? It looks to me like he is not looking at the minimap. Clem trying to micro multiple fights at once. At least he's going to be able to secure the kill over here, but what about the Nydus network? There's Zerglings inside of it. Serral also too busy to begin unloading. Now indeed he will start nibbling away at some of that SCV line. Hatchery on the right side, though, has already disappeared. Hatchery in the top left will stay alive for now. Zerglings burrow now. We have a secondary Nydus Worm over inside of the main base. That one, though, is going to get sniped. Clem is at the very least taking care of those units, but it is now forcing him to go all the way back. And that's the big issue with Nydus Worm play, man. Like, even though you can clean it up, right? Even though it's not necessarily resource efficient for the Zerg to pull it off, it's very APM efficient. Because it takes a lot of effort for the Terran to clean all of that stuff up. Even with 502 average actions per minute. So this is Clem north of like 9 buttons a second. That's crazy fast. Yeah, he's still not quite able to really deal with everything. There's still some links slipping through the cracks. And all of the pressure that he was putting out there on the map is now gone. Man, why do we not go for this one, Clem? He really wants to go for the outer bases. Huh. Alright. Well, we are going to cut off some of the drones as they're running away. Widowmine's trying her best. 9 drones did end up falling, though, which is pretty sweet. Serral, though, still ahead in that regard, and he's going to round up the total again to 90. Zerglings are waiting for the perfect opportunity to unburrow and continue nibbling. Hatchery in the upper left is now done. This hatchery over here also refinished once more. Nydus Worm goes up in the main base. We never had the Liberators take care of that overseer. A Viking or so patrolling would not be bad either. We do have the scan confirming where those links were coming from. But again, the entirety of the Terran army has been dragged back home. Again, they're gonna burrow all over. Yeah. And not only is this annoying because you can unburrow them and then, well, continue harassment as the Zerg player, but you can also use those Zerglings as a spotter unit for Nydus Worms. You need to have vision in order to plant down a Nydus Worm. So these are the perfect unit to provide that vision with. Every scan we see right now as well could have been a mule. Clem is not quite up to the command center count where he has got infinite scans. As a matter of fact, he only has 3 orbitals right now. It's not nearly as many as you want. He's making 3 additional ones. That's a good idea. Trying to settle into a bit of a turtle setting right now, though. Like, he's trying to move towards this bottom right-hand corner. Serral wants to break this open before the planetary is done. Not going to happen. Neural Parasite coming up now in the meantime for the Zerg. And then also, good old Microbial Shroud on the back of it. New CCs. +3 armor. Nydus Worm in the main base. Okay. Yeah, and this is what has me concerned here for Clem. Like, Clem is stable. He's got a good enough economy. But he doesn't have the Zerg's economy. And this is one of those weird things where I guess there's always a bigger fish, right? Like, Clem is rich. He's got all the upgrades. He can make whatever unit he likes. But this is a 1 versus 1 where the opponent has all of the same advantages and then some more. Serral's looking for opportunities. This is not an easy map to counterattack on. Ooh, those Widowmines not really achieving too much. Now Serral has a bunch of Banglings in the mix too, and you know what? You can use those to quickly blow up SCV lines, but also planetaries too. There we go. He was thinking about taking the expansion to the left. Instead, we have to relaunch the orbital command's path, and we set it over here in the middle. Okay. Liberator numbers are growing slowly but surely. We have only 2 ghosts. He was trying to EMP some units. I would not mind having a few more of those in the mix. Marauders and Marines have to come running back home again to try and stop down this Nydus Worm and prevent it from dealing critical amounts of damage. And this cheeky Overseer, man, it's the perfect location to just continuously, okay, get some damage done with those worms. In the meantime, though, we did have a nice hit squad here from the Terran, hitting a base of the Zerg. At the very least, there will be some reduced mining. But if I were to make a guess, those drones are just going to be rerouted to another mineral line. Serral has plenty of those available. Building armor coming up, that's good. High sec auto tracking already finished for the Terran. Serral's planting down a creep tumor in this location. If this finishes, it is going to prevent the command center from landing again. Kind of important now for Clem to run on over in this direction and, well, secure the base, secure the position. Serral just has so much money, right? Like, if we look at the army value in the upper left, Clem can basically reproduce, I don't know, like a fourth of his army at best. Serral can reproduce everything and then some. So even though I think in a straight-up fight this Terran army is better, the Zerg army will be able to basically replenish with an identical setup multiple times over. And that's why Serral can take fights exactly like this. Some really big fungals yet again. Ultras do close the distance. The Corruptors in the air clean up basically all flying units. And while that was expensive for both players, it benefits Serral greatly because he's going to be able to remax immediately. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time. Zerg can remax quickly. Will it be quick enough, though? I think it is good enough. Yeah, these Marines and Marauders are going to have to run back home to the safety of the planetary fortress. But now with the reinforcements popping out of their cocoons, I don't actually know if they're that safe at all. GG gets called. Serral wins the macro game. Okay. That takes us to the map Mothership. A little bit of first-person view here. For the Frenchmen, looks like we're once more going for a good old double barracks opener. Now, obviously, APM is always an interesting number, right? Like, what are the players doing here in the earlier stages of the game to warrant the ridiculous amount of actions and the amount of camera flashes and whatnot that you see right now? Well, there is a little bit of benefit. If you look very carefully at the SCV micro, sometimes you will see an SCV randomly speed up. There are little micro tricks that you can do to, I believe, speed up the mining. You see that SCV, how it returned to the mineral field about, I think it's 12% quicker. It's one of those things you can pull off if you have too much micro, too much early game APM available, where you can technically squeeze out a few more minerals, but if you mis-execute it in any way whatsoever, you are now behind. It's a bit of a balancing act. I usually recommend just not bothering with it, but it is one of the things that the pro gamers will utilize. Likewise, something you will always see at this level is that the close-by mineral fields are the ones that get double saturated first. Naturally, if you don't micro any of it, the drones and the SCVs and the probes will just settle on whatever mineral field they like. But you can manually control it. You can force them to double up on the closer by mineral fields first. It reduces, well, the travel time, and it makes about a 15 to 20 mineral difference by the time you plant down the spawning pool. So it is significant enough for that to be relevant at this level. Now, most of us, myself included, we are perfectly capable of screwing up later in the game. But assuming you are an absolute machine and you can play like the first 5 minutes perfectly, those are the types of things that do ultimately make a difference. No worries though. Most of us are perfectly capable of messing it up all by ourselves. Yeah, I don't want to flex too much, but I'm perfectly capable of screwing things up with my own fingers. Anyways, the Reaper goes in. Like, it's really easy in a game like StarCraft to focus on the details when you shouldn't be focusing on that at all, you know? Like, there's something about just coloring in the boxes using the right paint. And then there is something about, like, going around the edges with a tiny little brush trying to get the perfect line down. It's very easy to focus on the perfect lines only. But sometimes you just gotta color in the boxes. And early on, well, when you first start playing, it's all about the boxes. But you get to a level of refinement in StarCraft 2 that is basically unparalleled. I don't think any other esport is even close. The refinement here that these guys have is kind of ridiculous. Now, we do go for a bit of variety. Look, now we're going up to 5 Reapers here. 5 Reapers versus a third hatch. He just threw a grenade there, immediately turned back around. Serral does have link speed in about 10 seconds, but it takes a while. I think he's gonna be okay. Yeah, link speed is a big upgrade. I don't know if this hatchery is going to die. But it's so many Zerglings forced out now, though, for Serral. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, spicy. Spicy. Okay. Look at these Zerglings. They're surprised with their own results. Serral didn't even shift queue them anywhere else yet. All right, now that is a flying start. Appropriate, I guess, when we have Zerglings with wings and little Terra units that levitate off the ground. No, but it's a really, really strong start right here for Serral. I think what Clem was trying to do was get into the main base. I'm not sure, though, why else he would go in this direction, because you just end up engaging on creep with the third hatchery done, and you just don't have a lot of places to run to. Maybe he assumed that the little jump up pad was over here, and you could, like, I don't know. Beautiful map, by the way, man. Mothership is actually a banger. Like, I really like this map. Recently, I've seen some of the new submissions for the new Team Liquid map contest. In case you're unfamiliar, there's a new one ongoing. A lot of the map makers have been showing off little glimpses, little highlights of the maps that they have been producing. Some of them look beautiful. It's really lovely to see. But, like, this is another one of those maps that is just gorgeous. Like, we are very spoiled with the map makers that we have in SC2. Guys are absolute monsters. This map is very good. Double upgrades, though, coming up right here for Serral. Double NG Bay building up as well here for Clem. He'll try to set up a third command center. I think he should be able to get away with it just fine, but now it becomes a little bit risky, right? Because you don't really know what's going on the other side of the map. There has not been a Hellion follow-up. We do not have a Banshee available in this game. Clem decided to go 5 Reapers and then pure Marine production, meaning that this move out right here is a move out that is probably okay, but it could also be an absolute disaster. Like, imagine 30 Zerglings. Clem is dead. Like, that is the end of the game. But he knows what Serral likes to do. He's not just playing the matchup, he's playing the opponent. And he's gonna be able to go in and stim. This is a crazy move by Clem. Really? And it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. Wow, he doesn't target it. Really? I think this is a one-way trip regardless of what direction you go. There's no way that these units are gonna make it home. I don't know if they know. They were probably singing as they marched across the map. And I would walk 100 miles and I would walk. Yeah, you guys are super dead. I'm sorry, man. We could have killed the hatchery. This game is going nowhere so far here for Clem. I don't like it. I mean, it's not so much super dramatic or whatever, but I feel like some of the decision making has been questionable. I know I'm really hammering the details in this series, but between these two, that's really the only thing that matters. Like, we can assume perfect micro, perfect macro, so it comes down to this crazy part of the game called strategy. I know. This real-time strategy game actually has strategy in it. I know. All right, second factory inside of the third base, and then probably a fourth command center momentarily. No, yeah, we will. Oh, man, the timing here is kind of out of whack. Wait, we are going up to a 6th barracks right now? I think Clem is kind of lacking the flow in this game a little bit. Yeah, he does fire up another CC, but this is now a 6th Rex. The norm is to go 5 Rex, 2nd factory, 4th command center, and then 3 more racks. I think Clem is accidentally adding on a 6th one earlier than he wanted to, or he's got something very specific prepared. But judging with the way that this game has been progressing for him so far, I don't think that's the case. I think this may be one of those instances where your hands are moving at a different speed than your brain. Clem, though, still very powerful. And one thing that he has been doing a very good job of, despite the fact that he did not open up with any Hellions, he doesn't really have a lot of creep to worry about. Like, he's been doing a pretty solid job keeping that creep at bay, Serral is spreading an arm over on the right side flank, but I think this is manageable thus far. Yep. Does that mean we go up to 9 Rex? Do we go from 6 straight to 9? Can we call that nice? I don't know. Either way, Serral preparing now for one of his new moves that he's been very fond of. The 6 OV drop. When Serral's feeling comfortable, like many of us when we feel comfortable, we open like a bag of chips or whatever, you know? We get like a bottle of Mountain Dew or whatever. Serral loads up 6 Dropper Lords. That's why he's skinny. That's how that's how it works. The comfort zone in Finland is crazy. All right, bunch of Overlords a bunch of drones here do end up going down. The OVs are waiting on the right side of the map. They're in the wrong location here. Probably trying to navigate where they are. Trying to find your friends at the airport. Yeah, okay, there we go. Just turn on your Find My, man. Go into WhatsApp, share your location. Okay, they got the job done. We now have a 7th barracks. Yeah, the barracks production in this game is kind of weird. 2-2 is super duper late as well here for Clem. Clem trying to stabilize. I mean, it's weird because his supply count is really solid. And like the fights in isolation have been going pretty well. There go the OVs. This is the first time that Serral really decides to strike back. It's kind of mean here. Yeah, that's not gonna live for very long. Killing the double NG Bay would actually be absolutely massive. In the meantime, Serral is rolling in with whatever he's got as well. Planetary at the 12 o'clock, so probably best to not engage there. But honestly, targeting the NG base would be massive. That really is the momentum that Clem, well, needs. Losing the double upgrades? Okay, yeah, it's the equivalent of losing the game. GG. Okay, so this is Clem at 0.25 speed at the end of the game. Oof. Yeah, he's not happy. Meanwhile, Serral is looking like he's, paying attention to his tax returns. He doesn't care. Business as usual. Alrighty. And that takes us to Winter Madness, which is match point here for Serral. I wonder if this is what he expected going into this series. I'll be honest with you here. I did not think after that first game that this was going to be a good series for Serral at all. Like, the first game wasn't bad. But Clem was too good. Right? And that is usually not a good sign. When you appear, or the player appears to be playing their A game, but they still just sort of get destroyed. That is not a good look. Well, now he's on match point. It is not over yet. But Clem does seem to be struggling a little bit. Maybe not just in the game, but also, well, mentally, right? It's just, StarCraft 2 is very much so a mental game. It's always interesting to me how, over the years, we've had many successful players in the game. But it always seems to me that either they are, like, very emotional or not emotional at all. Like, very rarely do we have somebody that is, like, middle of the road. Serral is somebody that doesn't seem to have, well, I'm sure he has emotions, but he manages to shut them down when he's playing some StarCraft. Clem certainly is somebody that is not afraid to share it. Although it's been getting worse, I will say. Like, I don't remember Clem being, as fond of smashing his keyboard like a couple of years ago. I do feel like in general, actually, the guys that treat the game more like a spreadsheet, like, for example, Serral, like, for example, Maru, they rarely show any sort of emotion whatsoever. The guys that are a lot more aggressive usually seem a bit more angsty. Well, I say that. We have players like Hero. Hero's username, or his nickname, I suppose, has been the Smiling Assassin for many years. Because Hero is always smiling. This guy is building Dark Templar in your base. He's proxying a fleet beacon on your side of the map. And you know that he's got a cheeky smile on his face no matter what. That's just his default. I apparently look very grumpy. My default face is very, I don't know. Anyways. Hero's face always has a cheeky little smile on it. Serral looks like he does not care. Clem seems to be a little bit upset in series like this. But hey, being successful, it does mean that you have to be performing under pressure. This is probably the most pressure you're gonna get as a player in SC2, if you are in Clem's shoes, but it certainly is manageable. Now, already something weird has happened in this game. Serral has decided to take this as his third base. Zerg players hate taking that as their third base. There's a bunch of reasons as to why. 9 out of 10 games, maybe more than that, probably like 19 out of 20 games, this is the preferred third base location. One of the main reasons why this expansion is kind of rough for Zerg is that it's this very long trek around the corner. Like early on, your queens just have a difficult time protecting both the natural as well as the third. Especially if you expect a bunch of units to come in from this ramp over here. It just seems like you are so far away from this location with your queen. So you have to have multiple control groups of queens if you want to be defending all of that space. And furthermore, you are expanding in the direction of the opponent. Meaning that the absolute difference between the bases, the distance rather, is just not that significant, right? So Clem can, well, lean into that. Get his Terran units across the map a little bit sooner. And obviously Zerg units are always faster than the Terran's units. So you're not really playing into the strength of the Zerg as much. It's still doable though. Like, it's certainly not the end of the world. I think actually the map maker, the creator of Winter Madness, really thought that this was a reasonable third base location. But I think most Zerg players absolutely despise it. Okay. Not a bad start here, though, for Serral. Like, losing a Hellion like that sucks. He's going Cloaking Field as well for the Banshee, meaning that you really want to be keeping those Hellions alive. We're going up to 6 Hellions here in total only. 2 of them are already bruised up. One of them very significantly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when you lose a Hellion like that, you're also automatically losing a little bit of value on your Banshee follow-up. Now we have 2 of them really badly bruised. I wouldn't even mind seeing them going home, but I think that is probably too slow. Yeah, so by defending against these Hellions, Serral may have already automatically then, like, defended against the Banshees too. And considering the commitment here into Cloak, should be an easy cleanup for Serral. He sees them right now coming in too. Not good here for Clem. These are big investments in the earlier stages of the game that do not seem to be paying off at all. Their command center gets landed. Zergling is all over it right from the get-go. Hellions decide to just drive all the way back. That means the Banshee is just waiting. Is it within vision as well? Oh no. Clem? Really? Oh, Clem may actually be falling apart. He was repairing the Hellions, but accidentally forgot that he had his SCVs right-clicked onto it. So we have a couple SCVs, or one of them right now, chasing this. Now we have an all-army hotkey of the units here in the middle, so easy cleanup yet again for Serral. He does have 2 pockets of queens cleaning all of this up. Look at them. They have a personal overseer. So we have 1 control group with 3 queens and an overseer, and then another one with the identical group. Hydra then here again for Serral. Interesting. Oh, are we gonna go for a Hydra push once more? No, I don't think so. At least not similar to the one that we saw in game number 2 on Tourmaline. This is going to be +1 missile, and I'm assuming +1 carapace, although it could be +1 melee too. Carapace is usually the go-to because it allows you to transition as well to ultras later on. For now, Serral actually opting, maybe there's a mistake. Serral opting not to use it. That could be an oversight. Other than that, this game has been going pretty much perfectly for Serral. Yeah, he's lost nothing. I mean, sorry for the 6 Zerglings that died, but you guys were meaningless. There's the +1 armor. Now, this is exactly the start that Serral will be hoping. Or will be hoping? Did I just say hoping? Very nice. New word. This will be exactly the start that Serral's hoping for. Or as a wise man once said, hoping. Hoping for. Creep spread is starting to get out of hand as well. If Clem does not get it together soon, Creep is gonna gobble up 90% of the map. Like, it's gonna be knocking over at the 4th base of Clem. Like, he's gonna get it over here, he's gonna get it over on the left. There will be multiple arms. Serral's like an octopus out on the map, okay? In like 2 minutes from now, if Clem does not slow any of this down. Creep, it kind of feels exponential, you know? Like, if you don't address it early on, it is just gonna get out of control. All of the Marines in one big ball. Okay, yeah, it's now a glorified creep clearing squad. I don't hate it, but it does feel kind of shaky. Clem going straight into 2-2. 4th command center yet again. Not opting to go for any of that shenanigans with the 8-Rex throughout this series. Wouldn't mind seeing him mixing it in, though. But the problem is, if you have a bit of a rocky start, an 8-Rex is just going to make things worse. At least he's going to get another Overlord for his troubles. Oh, we stim for everything? Okay. He really wanted the Overlord killed. Does move around the site. Centrifugal hooks is on the horizon here for Serral. Snipes one of the Medivacs. Good target firing. Is he going to go for a push right now? So wait, we have Bailing Speed, double upgrades, Hive coming up. I thought for a second we were going to do a march with the Overlords and the Queens then as well in the direction of the 3rd. Kind of risky. No reason for Serral to do that at all, and I think he's got enough units to just defend instead. Clem does get a creep, or a queen rather, for his troubles. Now the infestors are added into the mix. New hatchery over on the right side of the map is nearly done. Looks like they are now taking that overseer that was previously part of the creep, or the clean, or the the creep queen crew. There we go. That's a tongue twister. The creep clean crew. Okay, I'm not gonna try that again. The first Lurker Den in this series. Lurker Den together with a Hive. We have 2 infestors available at the moment. Marines in the upper right do get destroyed. Clem has not yet seen the infestors, and that's a problem. He's gonna see them now for the first time. Roly-poly banelings and fungal growth. There's a bunch of Widow Mines in the mix, though. Serral setting up what looks like a little bit of a surround. Yeah, he's never gonna come in from just one ramp. He's gonna try and come in from every side. Clem needs to run. He needs to pick up. He does not pick up in time. That's the scary thing about infestors, man. When you know they're on the horizon, you gotta keep running or you pick up and leave. The bantlings crash into it. And this isn't even Serral's final form. He's like an anime protagonist right now, dude. Yep, there we go. When's the last time you've seen an anime protagonist go seismic spines? Well, you know what? It is problematic. Another nice fungal. Oh, getting those Medivacs would be huge. Getting the Medivacs is massive. Oh, that's so big. Oh, getting the Medivacs basically knocks Clem back to the Stone Age in this game. Clem is falling apart. He needs to get new Medivacs going now, but he only has... Well, he's got a second starport by now, right? Yeah, he does have a second starport, but it just completely allows Serral to do whatever he likes. Serral now even almost antagonizing Clem by building lurkers over here for no apparent reason at all. This feels unnecessarily risky. Clem still has the army to be able to jump that, but Serral apparently is going to be able to get away with it. Probably should have morphed him in a little bit closer to home. Either way, now Seismic Spines is done, and if you can get those lurkers in the right location, it is very difficult to clean them up. Clem is gonna try though. Oh, another big fungal growth, a chain fungal again too. And that apparently is enough to trigger the GG right there from Clem. And that means that Serral gets the job done. So, 2 weeks prior to this series, they played against each other at Home Story Cup, and Serral got demolished. Probably the most one-sided series I've seen between these two ever. Other than, well, you know what? Other than the EWC Finals of 2024. That one, Serral probably doesn't like that one being brought up. Anyhow, this one right here was very strong, especially from Serral. But it did feel to me that Clem was just a little bit off. He started off very well. But then, I guess, with game number 2, maybe the Hydralisk timing attack kind of threw him off a bunch. But he just sort of fell apart the longer that the series went on. And This final game right here on Winter Madness, in isolation, a lot of the problems are okay. A lot of the mistakes were fine. But then everything added together, it's a disaster. So it's Serral that ends up winning here, 4-1, and he gets his revenge. GG.